No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No the police brutality. No to racism. No justice. No peace. No justice. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? No justice. No justice. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. No justice. No justice. No to police brutality. No to racism. One human. One human. One human. One human. No to racism. No to racism. Black lives matter. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? Not the police brutality. Not the racism.
This is the American embassy. This is the house this is housing the diplomatic mission officials of the American government here in Banjul. And here, this is where the protesters are standing right before this house to send their message across. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to talk to the leader of this movement, of this assembly. What exactly are you demanding from these American representatives here in Banjul?
From the U.S. Representatives and so to the U.S. government, we are demanding an immediate end to institutionalized racism against black people, African Americans particularly, which is manifested in discrimination, whether it is about housing or education or healthcare, or in the civil and political rights in terms of voting and things like that, but also which is manifested in the blatant act of violence that is meted out to Africans, primarily by the United States police that has taken the liberty to kill black people regardless, but also to the rest of the American society. You know, if you recall the case of Trayvon Martin, he was not killed by a police officer but by an ordinary citizen. So therefore what we are looking at is to demand the United States to end systemic racism in the United States against black people.
I mean, sir, how fast would you really want this institutional, change to occur? Because these are policies, deep-rooted policies that may take years for you to be effective, for us to see an effective change of this institutional, racism that you were talking about.
We want it now. When I say now, I mean right now, immediately, because African Americans are equal citizens like any other kind of American citizen. So in the first place, it should not have existed. To have it exist for years, for centuries to today, it is no excuse that we should let it go, for another second, another minute, another hour. It has to stop now. How to stop it, that is for them to figure out. But our demand is that it has to stop now because it is injustice, it is discrimination, it is a violation of the very ideals and values that the United States itself proclaims, that it is the land of the free, that it is the bastion of democracy, that it is the champion of human rights. Yet in your own backyard, you are killing your fellow citizens just because of the color of their skin. America is waging war on other nations, imposing sanctions on other governments. Going to even kill other people in other parts of the world on the basis that they are violators of human rights. They are dictators. They are oppressive regimes that are killing their own people. Yet in your own backyard, you are doing these things. So we want it now that America transforms its laws, its institutions, educates its society to promote equality, justice and freedom for all, to promote tolerance and inclusion for all. So this is what we are demanding, and we are demanding it right now.
You're demanding it right now, but how do you think this is going to be applicable as soon as possible? Because yes, we've seen that the 4 police officers are fired and then charged with second-degree murder, and also others with murder for standing there without not helping the George Floyd. But this is something that you expect the leadership to take responsibility, to take in charge of this, I mean, institutional changes you have seen. But it seems that's not the way, because we've seen, I mean, Donald Trump calling the protesters anarchists, looters.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you think this...
This is the point. You have a president who himself is perpetuating that racism. Now, that is a matter for Americans to deal with, the American state. That because Donald Trump is aware that the United States has laws, a constitution. They have a Declaration of Independence in which they declare that all human beings are born equal and endowed with the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And he knows, since that declaration, black people of the United States have been denied life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 100 years later, we saw what they call the Emancipation Proclamation, that to abolish slavery and give freedom to all black people that were enslaved. But the terms of that declaration or proclamation until today has not been met. And then you see the systemic racism, which has been exposed by United States institutions themselves. How black people are marginalized, are denied access to education, health care, housing, I mean civil and political rights, social and economic rights, you know, compared to their fellow, I mean, white citizens. These are obvious things. These are not my opinion. These are official American institutions coming with reports like this. So if a president like that should come now to speak in this manner, it just shows that the American society is still a racist society. And so it is up to them to deal with it. We are making a demand, and this demand is not going to stop. Yes, so U.S. Congress, the White House, state institutions, I mean states, and you know, they got to deal with this. It is not just enough, you know, to you know, arrest, charge 4 police officers. Certainly, they have to, because they broke the law. But then these 4 officers come from an institution operating on a particular system. So it is not just enough to stop at those 4 police officers. The entire police system, law enforcement and justice delivery system in the United States has to be under arrest in order to be reformed. Because the way and manner, for example, U.S. courts send black people to jail is utterly, you know, not proportionate, you know, with the crimes that they commit, and particularly, I mean, especially in comparison to the other populations. And all of that is happening simply because the justice system, the court system, is biased against black people. And that has to stop.
I mean, sir, this also has to do, Gambia has an interest in this because a Gambian brother was killed in Lamin Sise. And now we've seen that you were here right before the American embassy. Have you written to them? I mean, have you, because we've not seen any official, for instance, compared to the other protest where official came and received the petition and said, we've heard you and we'll do something about it.
Yeah, so in about 2 minutes, we expect to submit a petition. So, but to let you know, we began organization for this protest some 3 weeks to 1 month ago. We couldn't agree with the police on the timing. But before today, we had already submitted a petition to the United States. We got the embassy come out. I think one can say the Gambia and this group is the first in the world to get the United States official come out of the embassy to receive a petition on this issue. So we did that about 2 weeks ago. We got the petition online, 200 or so people signed, which we submitted, and we have the same petition here, which for protesters who could not sign, and will be here to sign, so that we'll submit that also to them.
I mean, finally, the core, we'd like you to remind our viewers, the core of the demands that you're making here today.
Yeah, the core of the demands we are making is one, for United States to end racism, and that is that we are demanding the United States to engage in legal, constitutional, legal, and institutional reforms in order to remove racism from those systems. We are also calling on the United States to recognize the equality of African Americans with all other citizens of America, which it is necessary that the United States also review its education system so that the rest of American citizens are well educated about the history, the contribution, the experience of African Americans or black people in the United States. So we are making those demands. So in all, we have about 6 or 7 clear-cut demands in our petition that we are sending to the U.S. Embassy.
Jabbar, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
So now the protesters have just gathered right before the gate of the American Embassy with their petition in the hands of course, the leader of the movement, waiting for an official from the American Embassy to come out and who will be handed over to, he will hand over the petition to an official that comes and represent either the ambassador or the ambassador himself to come out and receive the petition of the movement. Officials are coming out, as you can see. The officials from the American Embassy are walking out of the gate rather, and are here to receive the petition right here.
Today to protest, and I want to recognize those who have organized this activity. In vibrant democracies, protests are a very important part of that, along with dialogue and peaceful protests and discussion. I want to note that acts of racism are absolutely contrary to the ideals on which the United States was founded. And we know that the United States is not perfect, but we strive to be more perfect. It is so important that we have difficult conversations about this topic, and we, the United States, commit ourselves to standing up for injustice. We are a nation united on the concept of liberty and justice for all, and there is much to be done to bring about complete equality. But we look forward to both working together within the United States and also with our partners, those in the Gambia, and we look forward to continuing this dialogue and discussion, and thank you for engaging with us on this very important topic.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Can you please tell us your name?
Sure. My name is Shelley Seaver, and I'm the Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in the Gambia.
Thank you very much.
Which began many centuries ago. The U.S. was based and built on the backs of black people, on the backs of slavery, on the backs of injustice. It's been centuries, and black people around the globe have had to deal with systemic racism. We're calling on the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. government as a whole to end racial injustice against black people, to end police brutality, which is systemic and endemic, as part of the U.S. history and as part of the U.S. culture. As black people in the Gambia here, we are naming it. We are naming it for what it is. We have a few demands, 7, which I will list. The first one is to release the police videos on the shooting of Modu Lamin Sise, who was killed in Gwinnett County in Georgia. To conduct thorough investigation of all incidents of police brutality against blacks in the United States and ensure full justice and accountability. To conduct constitutional, legal, and institutional reforms to weed out and end cultural racism, and to actively criminalize racism in all forms. Page 3. To reform policing methods to orient law enforcement officers towards non-violent policing methods and educate them about human rights. To reform American education system to fully introduce African and African American history, to highlight the contribution of Africans to world civilization and the building of the United States of America. To provide reparations for African Americans with direct and huge investments in the provision of services, facilities, and opportunities for their social, economic, and cultural development. Uphold and practice democratic values and protect the human rights and dignities of all, Thank you.
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter! equality and justice.
We want equality and
We
justice.
want justice and accountability.
We want justice and
We want
accountability.
equality and freedom
We want equality and
for all black people
for all black people
in the United States,
in the United
in
States,
the Gambia,
in the Gambia,
in Senegal,
in Senegal,
in Nigeria,
in
in
Nigeria.
the whole of Africa. No to racism against blacks in China.
No racism of black
No to racism of blacks in Europe.
No racism of black in Europe.
No to racism against blacks in Europe.
No racism against
No to racism against blacks in China.
black.
Stop killing us.
Stop killing us.
Okay, we want to thank all of you. We want to thank our policemen who are around to provide security, but particularly we, the people who came out here, the permit they gave us is up to 11:30. We wanted to stand here to show our disagreement, to respond to that systemic racism. That systemic racism that caused slavery, colonialism, the exploitation and oppression of black people around the world. It is not just in the United States, but across the world where black people are constantly subjected to discrimination. Whether it's in sports, even in the World Bank, in the United Nations, we see how black people are being discriminated. We see in China how black people are discriminated. In India, in France, in Germany. We want to end that, but also to say black lives in the Gambia need protection. We don't want police brutality in the Gambia. We had a regime here that took black lives. In this current dispensation, we have black lives taken by state agents. There's no justice and accountability. You go to Senegal, in Nigeria, in Angola, it is not happening. So therefore, we are standing here not just to respond to the murder of George Floyd and the killing of Muhammad Lamin Sise, but to say, as black people, our lives are endangered. And we have to stand up to ensure there is justice, freedom, and equality for black people like all other people in the world. So thank you for coming. This is not just today. Let us continue to organize, to stand up, to speak up in your family, to raise awareness in your associations, in your communities, in your neighborhoods, in your schools and workplaces, to demand justice and equality and freedom for black people. This is the struggle. It is not
We've just witnessed the handing over of petition from the protesters to the American embassy officials, of course. And Shelby, the deputy chief mission in the Gambia, has received the petition on behalf of the movement and promised that the American officials will do what it takes to ensure that systematic racism comes to an end, because she said these are values that the American system or the American people do not uphold. These are values against the American system, of course, which we all know, she said. So we've just witnessed the handing over ceremony. Now it is left to the American government and of American officials to start the real discussion, to start the real process of changing policies that will end systematic racism and institutional racism in America as a whole, so that every life will indeed matter, so that every lives, regardless of your race, will be given equal opportunity and will be treated as any other human being in the United States of America. Sankoli Janko, Block TV, Banjo.